Hello and welcome back to my lair. I am your host, the Rambling Lich, and today I would like to talk to you about the Cyclops, the oft neglected cousin of the giants, which is a bit of a tragedy. They are a very interesting race of extremely large humanoids, but let's get their stats out of the way first. Your average Cyclops is a large CR5 humanoid giant creature with a high strength score, a -1 dex score, a +2 constitution, a 0 intelligence, a +3 wisdom, and a -1 charisma. They are skilled in athletics, fortune telling, lore, intimidation, and survival. They know Jotun, Cyclops, Common, with a perception of +12 and low light vision. They have an AC of 21, a fortitude of +13, a reflex of +8, a will of +12, and 80 hit points. They also have a speed of 30 feet. They have ferocity, which they can use as a reaction. This ability has the trigger of when this monster is reduced to 0 HP, the monster avoids being knocked out and remains at 1 HP, but its wounded value increases by 1. When it is wounded 3, it can no longer use this ability. And it also has the Flash of Insight ability as a free action once per day. The trigger, the Cyclops is about to roll a d20. The effect, the Cyclops peers into an oculated spectrum of possible futures. They get a success, not a critical success, on rolling instead of rolling. This can make them quite dangerous. The ability to, even once a day, just hit. No roll, no guesswork, it just works. What might they be hitting you with, though? Well, their common weapons are a great axe, which they will swing at +14 to hit for their first attack, with a 10-foot range and the sweep trait. Sweep meaning this weapon makes wide swinging attacks. When you attack with this weapon, gain a +1 circumstance bonus to your attack roll if you already attempted to attack a different target using this weapon this turn. And it deals 1d12 +9 slashing. For ranged options, which they are much less adept at using, they use the heavy crossbow. +8 to hit on their first strike, with a range of 120 feet and a reload 2. It deals 1d10 +4 piercing damage. And as a special attack for 2 actions, once per round, the Cyclops can make a sweep attack. The Cyclops makes a melee strike and compares the attack results to the AC of up to 2 foes, each of whom must be within their melee reach and adjacent to each other. Roll damage only once and apply it to each creature hit. A swipe counts as 2 attacks for the Cyclops' multiple attack penalty. And that is the base Cyclops stat block. So they aren't very dexterous, nor are they going to be winning any friends over, and overall their society is tragic. While they only possess a single eye, they once had greater powers of foresight and divination. And while it has receded and failed as their society has collapsed, they can still use it for things like, again, ensuring that they get their hits. Most Cyclopses today are either solitary or live in isolated small groups, often in the ruins of their civilization, or cliffs and caves not far from such places. Mayhaps they farm sheep and kidnap random travelers that wind up on their shores for whatever reason. Could just be they're hungry. talking on their hunger, they are known to be tremendous gluttons. And it is somewhat speculated that their famous gluttony could have been part of a curse after the fall of their civilization from their gods. Now, that is your basic Cyclops. Some Cyclopses, however, have maintained a bit of their former knowledge and history. They are rare and often are the more isolated amongst their kind. However, if you were to seek them out, they are much less likely to start a conversation with the act. They tend to fancy themselves philosophers or sages, one of the few of their kind who keep records and some of the former culture. Their stat block would give them a +6 to their strength, a +0 to their dex, a +4 to their constitution, a +7 to their intelligence, a +5 to their wisdom, and a +3 to their charisma. Their skills are academia lore at +23, athletics at +18, cyclopean lore at +23, diplomacy at +19, intimidation at +19, library lore at +23, occultism at +21, society at +21, and survival at +19. They tend to clad themselves in hide armor and equip themselves with crossbows and bow staves, and they have a perception of +21 with low light vision. Their AC is 29, their fortitude at +18, their reflex at +16, and their will at +21, with 175 hit points. And although much more inclined to work with others civilly, they are still Cyclopses, so they do still have the ferocity ability. However, they trade Flash of Insight with Flash of Discovery that they can use much more often than their common counterparts. As a free action, Occult, once per round, with the trigger, the Cyclops Seeker begins their turn, and the effect, until the beginning of their next turn, the next skill check or will saving throw, the Cyclops Seeker succeeds, but not critically succeeds at, becomes a critical success instead. They also have a movement speed of 30 feet. So, the ability to whatever they're doing, as long as they are taking their time with it, to just succeed at things. Maybe they're trying to craft something, and this literally just says, hey, if you're gonna roll, the next skill check you succeed at becomes a critical success. This is probably one of the more, not necessarily extreme abilities that they have, but definitely useful. There is pretty much no situation in which that's not useful. But onto their common equipment. They have a bow staff at +23, and it is a striking bow staff. So your damage is 2d8 plus 12 bludgeoning, a striking crossbow with the first hit at +16, dealing 2d8 plus 6 piercing. The ability Moment of Truth, with a frequency of once per round, the Cyclops Seeker looks for the perfect moment to attack a creature they can see, then attempts an occultism check against that creature's will DC. On a critical success until the end of their next turn, all strikes the Cyclops Seeker attempts against the creature gain a +1 status bonus to the attack roll and inflicts an additional 2d6 precision damage. On a regular success, it's the same, except it only applies to the next strike they attempt against that creature in the current round. On a failure, it does nothing, And on a critical failure, the Cyclops Seeker determines a suboptimal moment for their attack. They learn nothing useful and become off guard until the start of their next turn. If you have the funds and the pantry to afford it, hiring such a creature to do research for you, as long as you have the materials to be researched, would be fantastic, frankly. They are nearly guaranteed to come up with your answer given an amount of time. And being giants, they are relatively long-lived. Of course, you would have to find them, convince them to go with you, and convince others working with it to not be bothersome. Because remember, it is still a giant Cyclops. And an upset Cyclops is a good way to need to hand out hazard pay, presumably to the family, as you're only going to be scraping up whoever had the audacity to interrupt his nap. There is one other member of this group that I would like to talk about. The Great Cyclops, a mutant variant on the common Cyclops. These Cyclops grow to huge size rather than large, have a strength score of +7, a dex at +1, a constitution at +6, an intelligence at +2, a wisdom at +4, and a charisma at -1, and usually wear hide armor. Their AC is 32, their fortitude is +25, their reflex is +19, and their will is +22. And they have 235 hit points. They are a creature level 12. They have the ferocity ability, and they trade their flash of insight for flash of brutality. It has the fortune and occult traits. Its frequency is once per day and recharges when the Great Cyclops uses ferocity. The trigger, the Great Cyclops succeeds at an attack roll, and the effect, the attack becomes a critical success. They have a speed of 40 feet. It is difficult to run away from this thing without flight or other means of transportation. Your legs are not going to cut it. Their weapons are the Great Club, with their first hit at +25, dealing 3d10 plus 13 bludgeoning damage. They have a horn attack, also at +25, that can deal 2d10 plus 13 piercing damage. They have a fist attack that can deal 3d4 plus 13 bludgeoning. And as their ranged options, they enjoy throwing rocks for +23. And on a hit will deal 4d6 plus 7 bludgeoning. For 2 actions, the Great Cyclops can perform a powerful charge attack. It strides twice and makes a horn strike. If they moved at least 20 feet away from their starting position, the strike damage increases to 3d10 plus 20. As I said before, these are mutated brutes of an already brutish species. Their insatiable hunger has driven them mad, alongside uncontrollable insights of the future. There is very little of the wise Seeker Cyclops that would be recognizable from this creature. It is recommended to avoid them as much as one can. So, where in Galorian are we likely to find these creatures? Well, Golgon and Garund was the heart of their civilization before it fell, and you could find them scattered all along the archipelagos there. They also formed an offshoot civilization in Coloran. This would be formed from escapees of the former civilization in Golgund, and fell with the fall of the Starstone in the event of Earthfall. As I said, the Cyclops are a tragic people, giants living in the ruins of their own civilization. Most of them have devolved greatly in intelligence, with an ever-gnawing void in their stomach giving them a personality to match. Avoiding them is probably for the best, although if you can't, they are, for the most part, simple brutes, easily enough to take out, and their former civilization still holds an untold amount of treasure. Consider that a Cyclops sits at around 10 to 12 foot height, have large hands. Imagine what their coin must have looked like. Stories of dinner plate sized coins might be an exaggeration, but not quite by much. And with that, I do hope you enjoyed this conversation. And if you did, do the pleasantries, liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'm going to try and start making some of these creature-focused videos, at least whenever it comes to individual creatures. A bit more technical on what they can do within the system. Please let me know if you enjoy this, or if I should go back to what I was previously doing. Like I said, I do hope you enjoyed. Goodbye. Also, I imagine you could use their eyeballs to make some interesting divination potions. Maybe bottle up their flash of insight, brutality, or discovery. Yes. I will have to find some time to experiment on just such a thing.